rotation is going to follow a certain rule. So hopefully we've kind of gotten familiar with how these rules work. So XY represents the pre-image, and then this arrow is what you need to do to those coordinates in order to make your image. Now today we are looking at doing a rotation. In a 90-degree rotation, what happens is your image, your x coordinate becomes the opposite of whatever the y coordinate was, and then your y coordinate is what your x coordinate was. So to apply a transformation, a rotation of 90 degrees, your image coordinates are going to be, your x coordinate is going to be the negative of the y coordinate of your image, of your pre-image, and then your y coordinate is going to actually be what the x coordinate was. So here we have our three coordinates. We have -3, 2, 2, 4, and 3, 1. So we are going to take each of these coordinates and we are going to apply that rule to them. So we have A is -3, 2. So I'm going to apply that and then get this A prime over here. So A prime is going to be first the opposite of the y coordinate. So that would be my new x coordinate is -2. And then the y coordinate is the x coordinate of the pre-image. So A prime is going to be at -2, -3, which is down here. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Thanks. Who told me that? Zach. Thanks. Oh, sorry. Jeez, I'm losing my mind. Thanks, Zach. My bad. I did the screencastify. I forgot to get you guys going. I'm really sorry about that. How about now? Can you see me? All right. So heading back to the one I just did. So sorry about that. So I took A. A was -3, 2. So the x coordinate becomes the y coordinate when I rotate it 90 degrees. Then the y coordinate becomes the opposite x coordinate. So that's going to be that rule that we follow. So now each of these we'll do that. And I'm just going to list the image coordinate. So B prime then. So I look at my y coordinate is 4. My x coordinate of my pre-image is 2. So now that means that my x coordinate of my image is going to become the opposite of that y coordinate, and then the y coordinate is the old x coordinate. So now I'm at -4, 2. And lastly, C prime. I'm going to have opposite y coordinate would be my new x coordinate for my image, and then the y coordinate becomes the old x coordinate. So that would be -1, 3. So there would represent a 90-degree rotation. And I should probably label, there would be my B prime, and then there would be my C prime. So there would be my image under that translation. I didn't graph the pre-image just for time's sake, but if you graph the pre-image, you'll see that 90-degree rotation. So our coordinate plane is broken into 4 quadrants. So you got 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. So you're going to rotate each quadrant is going to represent those 90 degrees. All right, we'll head over to number 2. And again, I know if you're doing this digitally, it's going to be harder to graph, but you can just do what I did over here. If you just rewrite the coordinates under that transformation, okay, that is showing that you know how to apply that rule. So if you just rewrite those coordinates, I'll be looking for that. That works just fine as well. 270 degrees. So 270 degrees, you take your original pre-image coordinates, and your x coordinate of your image is the y coordinate of the pre-image, and then your y coordinate is the opposite of the x. So we'll get our points here. So we got Q prime, R prime, S prime, and T prime. So we'll start with our Q. So first I look at my Q. Now here we have 2 negative coordinates. And I know I sometimes say like -x, but really what that means is the opposite of x. So when you're working with a negative, you're going to apply that rule. It changes that coordinate back to a positive. So that's really meaning the opposite. So here we go. We've got Q has an x coordinate of -6. So this x coordinate becomes the y coordinate and opposite. So that would become a +6. And then the Rule says that the pre-image y-coordinate becomes the x-coordinate of your image. So there would be my q prime, negative 3, 6. Next, we have an r is negative 5, 0. Well, 0 then would become the x-coordinate, and then opposite of x is 5, so that would become the y-coordinate. Next, we have negative 3, 0. So again, 0 would be the x-coordinate, and then opposite of negative 3, 3 would be the y-coordinate. And lastly, we'd have negative 1, negative 3. So here again, your y-coordinate becomes the x-coordinate, and then your y-coordinate is the x-coordinate's opposite. So there would be our 4 points. And then once we get our 4 points, we can graph those out. Negative 3, 6, 0, 5, 0, 3, and then negative 3, 1. So there would be our graph under that rotation. So there would be our new figure. So following that rule, each pre-image point is going to move the exact same amount of degrees. That's going to be a 270-degree rotation, and it's also going to have isometry, so be exact same as the pre-image. And lastly, a rotation of 180. So a rotation of 180 is going to give us this rule. So xy becomes negative x, negative y. So really just changing those coordinates to their opposite. So we have j, k, j prime, k prime, l prime, m prime. We are just going to simply change those x and y coordinates to their opposites, and they don't change order. So x coordinate of 1 still becomes a negative 1 as the x coordinate. So no changing order with 180-degree rotation. And all we're doing then is just making those coordinates their opposite. And there we go. So we've got all of our coordinates. Now we can go ahead and graph those. Negative 1, negative 4, negative 5, negative 4, negative 7, negative 2, and then negative 2, negative 2. So there would be our graph under that 180-degree rotation. So you're investigating these rules. If you don't have those rules written down somewhere, it'd be a good idea to have those. We have our quiz coming up next week on that Thursday, and you can use any of those notes. So it's going to be beneficial to have that rule written down, all 3 of those written down somewhere. Well, that brings us